So, Jen, I am so excited to have you on our podcast, the Extraordinary Women Magazine podcast today. You and I have worked together, but there's so much about you that I don't know, and I can't wait to hear more. So, thank you. Thank you for joining me
Thank you for
today.
having me. Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me, Sharri.
Absolutely. So, first of all, if you can you give everyone an overview of the different areas of your business? I know you do business coaching, but there's magazines, there's speaker. Give us an overview. What is your business? What's underneath your business umbrella, if we want to call it that?
Well, I'll tell you the story of how it evolved. Prior to the pandemic times, I was working as an agency owner and as a professional speaker, and I had stumbled into professional speaking because my agency was successful.
Okay.
And
What is an
I
agency?
pretty much
Explain.
like an ad agency.
Okay.
So an advertising agency. We were mostly working with doctors and lawyers. That was our specialty, to
Mm-hmm.
help them get their businesses on the page one of Google. And we were doing website design and email marketing and just, really helping those types of service-based businesses be found online so they can grow their business and get new patients and clients. And I decided my husband and I decided that when our kids went to college that we were going to move to Colorado. And so we did that almost 4 years ago.
Okay, but go
Yeah.
backwards
And
because we're jumping around, but because hold on to that thought, I want to say, because I want to hear why
okay.
Colorado. I mean, there were, 49 states for you to go to. So,
Uh-huh. Well, we had come out here. We lived in Florida, and we would come out to Colorado on vacation just to have
oh,
something different to do.
okay.
We lived at the beach, and so we saw it every day and took it for granted. And
Yeah.
one thing that when you come from a surfer family, being a snowboard family isn't that far of a stretch.
No.
And so the kids like snowboarding, and my husband does too, and I was a skier. And so we would come out to Colorado, and we just fell in love with it. And my husband and I just, for 8 years, like the last 8 years before we moved here, we just had really set it as a goal for our marriage and for our family that we were going to relocate. And of course we relocated in 2019, which is we didn't know the pandemic was coming,
No. No.
but it wasn't the most opportune time to pick up and start your life over again. But I did. And so I sold my equity of the ad agency, back to my business partners,
Okay.
and decided to go solo. And I opened up a marketing consultancy and was still doing professional speaking when I first moved here. And then 2020 hit. And we all know what happened with the pandemic. Everything shut down. And so I was forced to move my business model 100% online. We weren't, having meetings. I wasn't going to speaking engagements anymore. And my business evolved into me having a virtual marketing consultancy. I work as an outsourced CMO for clients all over the country. So I have that. And then I stumbled upon YouTube success by creating YouTube videos every week in an effort to get my message out and share my ideas. And some of my videos that I had created about magazine publishing as a marketing tool that I was doing to relaunch my coaching business really took off on YouTube and started to gain traction. And I started to get inquiries from potential customers that wanted to know if I could help them publish a magazine. And so fast forward, I now have YouTube's #1 channel on magazine publishing.
Crazy.
And so I do those two things mostly. I do marketing consultancy, 100% virtual with clients all over the country. And then I also have a magazine publishing side of my business as well.
Okay, and the marketing consultancy, as you call it, that also includes the business coaching to a certain extent. Is
Yeah,
that another arm?
right.
Okay.
No, it's not another, right? It's just a different service under marketing consultancy is
Okay.
business coaching.
Okay. Yes. And so the magazine concept, came out, you were already doing that when you were in Florida and part of that agency? Had you already come up with the idea that you can use a magazine to really promote your business?
The first time I ever published a magazine was when I worked for NASA. I was the manager of advertising at Kennedy Space Center. And one of our marketing tools that we used, we had members. This is in the early 2000s. I was doing memberships before memberships were like cool with people. But we had a membership, and I called them armchair astronauts. And we had our membership, which was just like, visitors to the Kennedy Space Center who wanted to know more behind the scenes details. So I started publishing a magazine called The Orbiter.
Oh, cool.
And that was the very first magazine that I ever created, but it was for someone that I worked for.
Right.
And then fast forward many years, and when I decided to quit the agency and go out on my own as a coach and a consultant and a speaker, one of my marketing tools that I created was a magazine, because nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody was writing books or having podcasts or whatever, but nobody was doing magazine publishing. And my mentor, Dan Kennedy, says, do the exact opposite of what everyone else in your industry is doing. And so that's what I did. And so I published a magazine, and it worked great. It helped me launch my consultancy. It helped me launch my speaking career. And it just worked out so great. So I just started sharing on YouTube what was working for me.
Okay.
And that's how I accidentally stumbled into having a magazine publishing business.
Yeah.
It was because of YouTube success.
It's incredible to me, but there's a part of me that thinks there's not and tell me if I'm wrong, there's not a huge jump between being a professional speaker and YouTube. Is that
Right.
like two different worlds other than content? Is it two different worlds?
They're pretty different. There are some things that are the same.
Okay.
I think being a YouTuber really challenged me, because I had to learn how to convey ideas in a really short format. So I had a speaking engagement yesterday, live in person one. I'm getting back onto the circuit now. And I had a live in person one yesterday. And, you get an hour, and you get, 15 minutes after that for questions, and people I can read the room, I can see everyone, and it can be very interactive. But on YouTube, you don't have that luxury. You don't have an hour, 45 minutes or hour. You don't have the luxury of seeing the people that are on the other end of your message. And so YouTube is a bit of a challenge in that you have to learn how to communicate your ideas succinctly.
Okay.
And you have to be able to maintain the motivation to do it, even when the audience isn't there live in front of you. So it does have its differences for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely no feedback whatsoever. So on YouTube anyways. Okay. So you go backwards though, back to Colorado, moving there in the beginning, like just out of curiosity, how did you prepare? You said you were planning kind of for 8 years, and that's a professional, standpoint, but your kids are now in college. And so the kids had to get prepared, family had to get prepared for this big change. What went on? How did you prepare yourselves, and then how did you prepare everyone else?
It was interesting because while we had this amazing life in Florida, we had our families there, we had 20 years of friends, we had the children. We just knew that it wasn't the place that we wanted to live our next chapter, the last half of our life. We just knew, my husband and I both are kind of nomadic by nature. I grew up overseas. He lived overseas when he was a kid.
Okay.
And we just like adventuring and learning and exploring new places. And one day I remember the moment, we were sitting in our bedroom, and my husband was like putting his shoes on, putting his tennis shoes on, getting ready for the day. And he was kind of complaining, literally, really. I mean, he was kind of complaining about, oh, this and that, and this and that. And I said, well, you know what? Our time will come, but at least for now, the kids are living their best lives. That's what I said to him. I said, at least for now, the kids are living. And that's the sacrifice that you make as parents when your kids are, younger, is we just have to get them to where they're good, get them to college, and then we can go live our best life.
Mm.
And that really just put a fire under him. And he, like, his complete expression changed. And he was like, what the, that's just, we've got to figure out a way to make it to where everybody's living their best life, the kids and the parents, that we're happy and they're happy.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started coming out here on vacation as much as we could. The summer before we moved here, we basically lived in Colorado for 3 weeks. So we would come out for extended vacations, and we started preparing the kids by, spending more time out here, coming out here more frequently, bringing them with us, sometimes not bringing them with us.
Mhm.
And when they were teenagers and had jobs and boyfriend, girlfriends, and cars in their lives, we just started preparing them slowly over time.
Mhm.
And then for us, I started preparing my business partners and telling them, in like a 3-year count, hit 3 years, I'm moving to Colorado. In 2 years, I'm moving to Colorado. In 1 year, I'm moving to Colorado. And just preparing everybody, preparing our families, preparing the kids, my business partners, and just starting to work towards the plan.
Yeah. Were there any shocks? All that preparation, sometimes plans don't go perfectly. So, besides COVID, take COVID out of the picture, were there any shocks where you and your husband might have looked at each other and said, "What have we done?"
Sometimes we do look at each other and go, what have we done?
Oh,
Sometimes we do.
still?
Not it. And we're like 4 years deep. Like sometimes we go, I cannot, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
We feel really blessed and fortunate and grateful that it
Yes.
has been as good, even better than what we expected and what we hoped for. But sometimes we're like, that was kind of a crazy move, because it might not have been as smooth. It might not have worked out as well.
Mhm.
There have been some negative things, like, family relationships aren't as tight anymore because they're Florida beach people and they don't want to come visit me in Colorado.
Okay.
But it's we just all have different lifestyles now, and
Mhm.
that difference has become magnified
With
because
the
of that.
yes.
Yeah, with us moving here.
Mhm.
But overall, there haven't been any negatives, really. The
Mhm.
kids, actually, Mitchell, my stepson from college, is coming in town on Saturday, and he's going to be here for his whole spring break. So it's been a really wonderful thing all around for the kids. And then the most interesting thing is my husband's aunt and uncle and cousin ended up moving here after we moved here,
Oh my.
unplanned, completely separate from us. So now we have built-in family here too, which is a
Mhm.
really nice, unexpected
Mhm.
surprise.
Mhm. Well, I think the story is so relevant because many of us do move at that midlife stage or at some
Mhm.
other
Right.
point in our life when we have to, help the kids to make the change. One partner or the other got transferred or took a new job or whatever the case may have been. What what advice would you have for someone generally and then someone specifically that's got a business and maybe it's even an online business because even though our businesses are online, I see you won like this Innovators Award in Colorado the first year you were there. So you were getting connected to Colorado, even though your business is to some extent online. So speak to both of those questions if you could, both the personal, how do you deal with your life, and then what do you do if you have a business?
From a personal perspective, it was pretty straightforward. It was, like I mentioned before, preparing the family, preparing the kids,
Mhm.
preparing each other and our marriage.
Mhm.
And when with my husband and I have been together for 12 years. I'm this kid's stepmom, by the way, just to
Okay.
clarify, but I act
Yep.
like they're my kids. But
Yep.
we've been together for 12 years, and so we're best friends. And so for
Mhm.
us, it was a very natural and easy move from a personal standpoint once we had the kids prepared and off to college and tucked in their apartments and all that.
But
But from
also,
a
like where to live. I mean, I've moved a lot in my life, and I tend to think I want to be in a particular location, in that city, and then, a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm like, why did I choose this particular location? Because when we breeze in, even for 3 weeks, We don't
Mhm.
necessarily know what we're going to like if we live there the whole time.
Oh, for
You're
sure.
looking
That
at,
definitely happened
yeah,
to us.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because when we first moved here to Colorado, we moved in the city of Denver, and we were in the city.
okay.
And I call it the great social experiment of our marriage, because my husband is a city slicker and I'm a country girl. And so he loved it. And he
Yeah.
was like, this is awesome. And we had a house. So it wasn't like we were in an apartment or anything, but we like had a house in the city. And he absolutely loved it and was thriving. And, my husband is a very social, I'm a very much an introverted. I can stay home all day long and never be
Mhm.
lonely. My husband, on the other hand, he's in a rock band.
Oh,
Plus
God.
works in sales, but he's in a rock band,
Yeah.
and he's on 3 hockey teams. He's like, go, go, go guy.
You
And so
need,
for him, living in the city was just really fun and energizing. For me, it was sucking the life out of me.
wow.
And so we stayed there for a couple years, and then stayed in the city for the first couple years. And then eventually I was like, I've got to move to more into the foothills or more into the mountains. And so we landed in Golden, Colorado, which is
Okay.
just 15 minutes outside of the city, but we're at the foothills. We're at the foot of the mountain. And so it's been a good compromise for us both, where my husband
Mhm.
has access to the city, and then I get to live in the mountains, in the foothills, and we love both lifestyles. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's from a personal perspective, that was the journey, the excitement
Yeah.
at first.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, then address kind of
Business
the issues of needing to get connected, both personally and
side.
professionally, regardless of whether or not your business is online or you even have a business. We need connections. Even I'm an introvert too, and even as an introvert, we do need to know there's people out there that that we can talk to, that we can meet with in person.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was I was already a member of the National Speakers Association, because I had
Okay.
a speaking career in Florida. And when we moved to Colorado, it was even better, because where I lived in Florida didn't have a local chapter. I was only a national member. And when I moved to Denver, we have one of the strongest chapters in the entire country. Sometimes people will say that we're number one or number two. Sometimes we fight it out with different chapters, but we're one of the strongest in the country. So the first thing I did was joined the local chapter of the National
Mhm.
Speakers Association, and that plugged me right in
Mhm.
to community. And it helped me professionally. It helped me with contacts and landing some of my first Denver-based speaking engagements, but it also gave me the peer support
Mhm.
and friendships.
Mhm.
And within 1 year of joining the NSA local chapter, I ended up on the board. I've been on the board of directors for 3 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's been really a positive outreach. And then I also am a member of the Golden Chamber of Commerce. I'm
Mhm.
Golden Women in Business. So I am a participant and a active member of the chamber, and
Mhm.
and then the Golden Women in Business, which is not affiliated with the chamber. And so that
Mhm.
has helped me. But but mostly from a professional standpoint, I really still try to run my business 100% remote. I still,
Okay.
even though the pandemic forced me to do it, I
Mhm.
still very much prioritize having a laptop lifestyle business versus one that is dependent on local contacts.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's really interesting. I think so many businesses have gone that direction or realized they did not need to do necessarily in-person events. And those of us
Mm-hmm.
that did go to those events, we're loving the fact we don't have to incur all of the expenses for in person. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a win-win
Yeah.
in many ways. I was going to ask you a question though about business coaching. If you shared what you did, what would be your advice? Or would that be the same advice? Find professional organizations, how to get connected when you actually have to move or want to move. Yeah.
I think that's great advice, Sherry. I think
Okay.
if you're going to move, number one, I think you do need to know what you're getting into. That's why we visited for 8 years before
Mhm.
we moved
Okay.
here. And we felt fairly confident with our choice of moving to Denver.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then once we were in Denver and we started we would just always hang out in Golden on the weekends after hikes or snowboard sessions. So we've felt very familiar and comfortable with this environment. And then it was just finding the people and the support. And, you know, my husband is more of his job is sales. So he has to, you know, he has to go out and meet people that's what he does. He calls on doctors. He works in medical sales. So his job is to go out and meet people. My job is not to do that.
Right.
I can run it from the computer. And so if I have to force myself to be involved in professional associations and organizations, and I do think that would still be my number one recommendation. If you want to have, if that is important to you into your, I don't think all business models need it. I don't think all businesses, there are lots of different ways to make money and lots of different career types and lots of different business types. And not all of them need to have the business owner plugged into professional associations. But for me as a coach and a speaker, it is important. It's important that I have those contacts and the relevant content and know what's going on in my industry.
Yeah, yeah. So you also, and I know you've shared this with me, you know, as we've worked together in the past, mastermind. You have a couple of mastermind groups that you're a part of, and so this is kind of putting on your business coaching hat too, and giving advice to whoever might be listening. How important are those kinds of contacts and connections for you to grow your business? Because yes, you transitioned and yes, you're doing well, but I know you're continuing to grow whatever it is that you currently have. How important are those organizations and how'd you find them?
You mean like the National Speakers Association
No,
or
the mastermind groups where you're working in a smaller, I'm assuming you're working in a smaller group. Do you have a mastermind? Maybe I misunderstood?
I don't have a mastermind. So I
Oh,
used to run a
okay.
mastermind. So just to clarify, so when I
Yeah.
first moved to Colorado and moved my business online, it was kind of a good thing in that I had contacts back in Florida, and I had a lot of people that still wanted to work with me, even though I moved to Colorado. And so one of the things that I created when I made the transition was an online mastermind. And I was the leader of it, the facilitator of it.
Okay.
And I charged a fee for people to be in it, but it was an easy way for the people that I knew in Florida to continue to work with me, even though I was not in their town anymore. So I created a mastermind at
Okay.
first, and then I ran it for almost 2 years. And then while my YouTube channel was taking off, so the mastermind was great because that was like, call it like low hanging fruit business. It was people I already knew. And then once my YouTube channel started to take off and I started to get more, I call it like fractional CMO work, like outsourced chief marketing officer work. I couldn't do everything. I'm not Superwoman, right? So I had to over time, as the YouTube channel was ramping up and as my outsourced CMO clients were ramping up, then I switched gears and then started ramping the mastermind down. Just because I couldn't serve all people all the time. I can't spread so thin. And then from me, from a professional development perspective, I'm not in a formal mastermind. I have been in some in the past. I'm not in one right now, but I am in groups. You mentioned the Innovator of the Year award that I won, and that was actually not a Colorado-based award. That was for a group of business coaches. They're in this association that I'm in for business coaching. Okay. There are over 550 business coaches from around the world in that program. And we all informally mastermind with each other. Like we have our own private Facebook group. We have our own conference. We have our own calls that we do with each other. It's not my group. It's an outside group, but I would say that group is one of my mastermind, or it's, support systems, people that I can bounce ideas off of. And then National Speakers Association, as I mentioned, is my other one.
You bring up a very important point in that when we work alone, it doesn't matter if we have a virtual team and they're all spread around the country and we tend to, compartmentalize those people. But I find it, and share if you do also, that sometimes you just want someone to bounce ideas off of. You need someone to give you feedback, honest feedback, because you can't have that cheerleader that says, "Oh yeah, go do that. Oh yeah, that sounds great." And do you use some of those people that you trust, that understand your business, to bounce those kinds of ideas off and get that feedback, or do you use your partner? Yeah.
I mean, I do use those people, like the National Speaker Association members, and then, you know, from the business coaching standpoint, and then I have coaches. So while I used to be in masterminds, I feel like, just because of where I'm at with some
Mhm.
types of marketing and some types of
Mhm.
information that I do, that where I'm at now, I require more of a one-on-one approach. And so,
Great.
like, I have a YouTube coach now, and his
Mhm.
name's Jeremy Vest. And so he's my YouTube coach. And so he's not so much like, I don't need necessarily a business coach. We've got that part down. I
Yep.
need more of a specific one-on-one, hands-on, looking at my channel, looking at my content, looking at my delivery on it. So
Yep.
it's like the coaches that I hire now are for very specific
Perfect reason.
problems and for very specific things.
Yes.
So while I'm not necessarily in a mastermind, I still have a coach. I have multiple coaches, but that's just one of them.
Mm-hmm. And also, you do coaching. You coach
Yeah.
people like me,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of other people that, I know work with
Yeah.
you, so all of you. Agenda is business coaching. And it doesn't have to be specifically about magazines. Magazines are just one marketing vehicle for one's business. So it's interesting, though, that even at your level, Jen, and that's something for people to think about, how masterminds or even individual coaching, if you can afford it, it can be incredibly beneficial, and that you need it all the way along. There doesn't
It
come a
doesn't go
point.
away. I mean, I mean, if you're really seriously trying to, if you're still in growth mode, if you haven't hit billionaire status yet, which most of us have not, you need coaches, and there's always something. That's why I like business, and I like marketing in particular, is because there's always something new to learn. No matter what. I've been at this for 25, 26 years professionally, since I graduated college, and there's always something new to learn. Now I'm learning about artificial intelligence and
Oh
how to
my God.
use artificial intelligence to help with marketing. So there's always new, and there's just always something new to learn. And there's no way that one person or one individual can know all of these things. And having a coach is, to me, it's just a better use of my time to pay the money instead of having to learn it all from scratch.
Yeah, we've become a world of specialists also, which is kind of interesting. I think even more so for the solopreneur than it was even, feels like even 4 or 5 years ago. Much more heightened. So talk about YouTube, because, there's a part, I love YouTube. I'm a little bit of a YouTube addict, on all levels, whether it's putting on makeup or doing a magazine funnel where I listen to you, or I go listen to somebody about, I don't know, politics, whatever it might be.
Right.
Where do you think that's all going? You're a marketing gal. Where is YouTube going, and why are you sticking with it?
Well, the reason why I love YouTube is pretty much is because I don't like social media. That sounds weird to say because I'm a marketer, but to me, social media is like a necessary evil that we all just have to do, but it can become exhausting. It's, you have to constantly be creating and cranking out content, and it just never goes away. And it's really hard to understand the algorithms and feed the algorithms what they want. And for me, and I'm a pretty private person too. I don't want to be, Snapchatting or TikToking my daily life behind the scenes and sharing my personal life so much with everyone, which is really what is required to be good on social media. And so I keep my social media afloat. It goes, right? I'm keeping a pulse. But YouTube for me has been fantastic because I don't have to involve my personal life in the content. I can keep my private life private, and then my business content is business content. And that's very attractive to me. And then the other thing that I like about YouTube right now is that it is still a search engine that is based on people going on the internet searching for a solution to a specific problem. That's how you and I met, right? You were looking for how to publish a magazine, how to make money with a magazine, how to sell ads in a magazine, whatever. And so you found my videos, and that's how I get a lot of business off of my YouTube channel from creating one video every week. One, not multiple pieces of content, not 10 pieces of content a day, nothing, one video a week that takes me a couple hours to do. And then that video is optimized for search for people looking for a specific problem, a solution to a specific problem. And then it continues to get views over time. It continues for years and years. I have videos that are 2 years old, 3 years old when I first started the YouTube game that still bring me business, versus Instagram content or Facebook content where you're irrelevant 5 seconds later after you post something. It's done, right? And so I like YouTube just because it's from a productivity and a systematic standpoint, it speaks to me, but then also I can keep my private life private and just focus on creating business content. That's what's working great for YouTube right now, is that it's still a search engine. And then also what's working great for YouTube is short form video, short form vertical content like we see on TikTok and Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels. That content is doing really well also. So I'm repurposing some of my long videos into vertical videos.
Okay.
But I think if you're a business owner and you're not in YouTube, you're missing the boat. It's harder. It definitely has a harder barrier of entry, I think, than other social media platforms. But to me, the benefit has just been, the return on investment has been worth it.
Yeah. I believe that, but you came in from the beginning, you were in on as a magazine funnel expert, correct? Or not?
No, first I started my channel just sharing random ideas. Literally. I was just like, oh, here's how to build an email list. Here's how to make a landing page. Here's how to find your market dominating position. I like just everything that I know about marketing. I just started dumping it onto the channel. And, but the stuff, and the reason why I started just dumping, one of my friends, he's super famous on YouTube. His name is Roger Wakefield, and he's the most famous plumber on YouTube. And we were friends from the speaking. And he was telling me I started working with him too. I was like a speechwriter for him. And he started saying, Jen, you need to start creating YouTube videos. This is going to change your life. And the mistake that I made originally was I was making the content all about me. It was like a great place for me to talk about whatever I wanted to talk about, or put little clips from my speaking gigs on there. And it was more of a portfolio of videos. And Roger was like, if you do this correctly and give the algorithm what it wants, you will be successful on YouTube. And he believed in me. And so I hired his coaches and he gave me a little coaching on the side too. And I started narrowing the focus, because just like any business, the riches are in the niches. And so while originally I started the channel very broad, once I started to see the success that the viewers were responding to the videos about magazine publishing, I just started doubling down. So in full transparency and complete honesty, I didn't wake up one day going, I'm going to launch YouTube's #1 channel on magazine publishing. Didn't work like that at all. But what I did do was press record and release videos, even if I didn't know if they were going to work or not. And just started creating content from a hunch, from a place of, I think this is going to help somebody. This is what's working for me. And then letting the viewers and letting the algorithm tell me what people are, where the opportunity is. And then doubling down on that content. That was the philosophy.
So when you started, how long ago did you start your YouTube channel?
I started in February of 2020. So before the month before the pandemic hit was when Roger and I had that conversation. And he was like, you need to take this seriously. And I didn't know what was coming, but it was just like really great place, right time, with all these awesome people in my life that are way more successful on YouTube than I am, telling me you need to do this. And then March of 2020, by May of 2020, I considered myself a professional YouTuber, taking it very seriously.
Okay.
making a commitment to having it, hosting it, releasing it as a show,
Okay.
really diving into the analytics and investing in the channel versus just recording on my iPhone, which is how I started.
Okay. That was my other question is when you started, did you do all your own editing, everything along the way? And then when you say you upped it, you invested in your channel, what does that mean? Tell people.
The very first video, okay, the most popular video on my channel, it was actually a Zoom screen recording. It's terrible, but it has tens of thousands. I don't even know how many now, 20,000 views on it or something. It's crazy how many views it has. It's on how to make so like right now we're doing this podcast interview. If you're listening and you're not seeing it, but we're doing this podcast interview on Zoom as a Zoom meeting, and we can see each other side by side. And that was really popular during the pandemic. But I wanted to take these Zoom recordings that I was doing when I first started my YouTube channel, when I was interviewing people sometimes, and I wanted them to look pretty on YouTube. And I was like, I wonder how you create a border around your Zoom interview when you're doing it, side by side, and make it look pretty versus just having the black bars at the top and the bottom. Yep. And so I made a tutorial video in Canva using Zoom screen record. And that was the video. That video went crazy. It just started getting thousands and thousands of views on it. Still does to this day. And it was a Zoom recording. There's nothing to it. Literally, there was nothing to it. And then this second and third video I recorded on my iPhone. Didn't even have a real microphone hooked up, nothing, no background lights. They had a ring light and an iPhone. That was it. Okay. No scripting, no nothing. I didn't even really know what I was doing, Sharri. I was just answering specific questions that people had. Sure. And
love this.
So I just started answering questions. That was it. And then by May, Roger was looking at my channels, my coaches were looking at my channel, and I started following a path to success. Okay. And upgraded to have a microphone, added another light, added a background light, and started doing more research on my topics before I just showed up and started making videos. So I started investing in software that would tell me what videos people were looking for. Okay. And it was kind of like I started, which I still encourage people, if you're thinking about starting on YouTube, just start. Even if it's just with your iPhone, with a window light, just do it. And then my coach tells me, one of my coaches, Sean Cannell, says, just get 1% better every time you upload.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's all. It's start messy, get 1% better every time you upload, and just keep making progress. I'm still making progress to this day. I still make progress on my videos, but it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding and a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a wonderful, as you said earlier, it's been a really wonderful calling card from a business standpoint, if you want to call it that, marketing vehicle. So from a marketing standpoint, your YouTube videos bring you business as well as your magazine. Correct. Do you still do the magazine?
Yeah. Yep. And so what I do is, so they have different purposes. So the YouTube channel is audience awareness. It's for people that don't know who I am to find me online, because YouTube is a search engine. Right. And then once they've hit the channel and they start, and I'm probably close to 90,000 viewers every year now, but so I've got 90,000 people watching my videos. And then from that percentage of 90,000, what I want to do is move them along the process with me. And so I offer free gifts, free bribes, lead magnets, and I offer a magazine for free. I give it away for free on my website in exchange for their email. I offer a pre-recorded webinar, and I offer an action guide that business owners can download, a marketing action guide. And then now I have my book VIP wait list, because I'm publishing another book in the summer. And so they can opt in to these free gifts. And so the magazine is still a free gift, just like the other free gifts. And then that helps me build my email list. And then it helps me move people to my calendar, which is where I talk to people and see if I can help them with their marketing.
Right. Which is the primary money revenue source, I'm assuming, for your business. Is that correct? She's nodding.
Both. So the magazine business, I'm building it because my ultimate goal, truthfully, is to
Yep.
sell it in 5 years.
Okay.
I'm trying to build it to where it's a completely separate process and separate offer. So I do magazine publishing for entrepreneurs who want to use a magazine to grow their business. And then I also do business coaching for people who already have a magazine. They don't need my team to build it out, but they just need advice on how to sell more ads, how to grow their subscriptions, and how to leverage it better as a, from a business perspective.
Yeah.
And so my focus is keep the magazine publishing business separate, because I would love to have a big publishing company come along one day and say, oh, that YouTube channel is a valuable asset. We want to buy that from you. And I can stay on as the spokesperson, or they can replace me with their own spokesperson. But it's a valuable asset that fuels this entire business on the back end. Because, getting awareness of your business and generating leads is the biggest challenge that every business has. But I've already got that figured out with YouTube. And so, I'm hoping someday some publishing company will buy that. In my mind, they're two separate things. There's the magazine publishing business, and then there's me, the marketing consultant, outsourced CMO and business coach to some clients. That's how I look at it and how I have it separate.
But I like how, and everyone that's listening, that is a bit of succession planning for a solopreneur, is to say, ultimately, I want to be able to grow this large enough that someone comes in and buys me out. Which is, I mean, every business has to think about that. And when, there you are. So great advice. Talk about magazines though, because we hear, and I love your YouTube channel. I listen to it all the time, as you well know, because I often comment or like, and I obviously Extraordinary Women magazine is out there, but I hear the naysayers that magazines aren't that valuable, that magazines are dead, that they said that all about books at one point. Talk about the magazine industry and how you see it fitting as we go forward. Because marketing is crazy changing. Yeah.
Magazines are just like every other media out there, in that you can be successful if you have a very specific niche.
Okay.
It used to be, remember when we had 4 TV channels, NBC, CBS, ABC?
Right.
That was it, PBS. Okay. So we had four TV channels. And then we started adding cable. Now we've got Netflix, and now we've got Tubi and Hulu and all these things, right? And so the success in media is in niches. It's in being very specific with, this is the type of content that we create and who it's for. Gone are the days of magazine publishing where you could create a magazine that was for everyone.
Right. Good housekeeping.
Consumer. Right. Those brands are going to struggle because we're used to consuming content that has been tailor-made exactly for us. For better or worse. Okay. But, I remember when I was in high school, all the kids in my high school listened to the same music, Michael Jackson and Madonna. Right? AC/DC, stuff like that. We all listen to the same music. Now, these kids have thousands, tens of thousands of artists at their fingertips. So if you're trying to be the next Michael Jackson, where everybody in the country knows you, loves your music, and is buying your albums, the odds are pretty slim. You have to find your people. You have to find your niche. And it's the same is true for magazines. So sometimes when people say, it's really hard to be successful in media or in publishing or in magazines. If you're trying to become the next People magazine, you're not going to win. It's not going to be successful. But I have a client, Phil, he's in California. He runs Cal Broker magazine, this is so specific. It's for insurance brokers that live in California.
Wow.
That's it. Got 25,000 subscribers. He runs a multi-million-dollar magazine because it's for specific people. That's where the success in magazine publishing is.
Right.
Just like success on YouTube, just like success in television or anything else that's going on right now.
But that's really interesting that you said, you have to niche down. And sometimes we get scared as solopreneurs and think that if I'm niching too much, oh my gosh, look at, I'm leaving that on the table. I'm leaving that on the table. What am I going to do? So we have to, I hear you say we need to niche down, but also within that niche, don't you need like multiple, I want to call it revenue sources, or, multiple ways to make money, or not?
I think this is one of the biggest problems in business coaching right now, Sharri. You're hitting on the head. This the biggest limiting belief is that if I niche down, I want to help everyone, coaches in
Yep.
particular. I can speak from the coaching perspective because I am one and I know thousands of them.
Right.
But coaches in particular, we want to save the world. We want to have this purpose-driven business. We want to have, we're like, oh, I have this amazing knowledge that can help everybody on the planet. It just doesn't work. We're too busy. We're too distracted. There's too much information out there. And if your information is too broad and not speaking to a specific person, it's just going to be really hard to be heard. And it doesn't change your value. It doesn't change your awesomeness. It doesn't change what a gift to the planet you are. It's just that it's hard for your message to be heard if it's not going to land on a very specific person with a very specific problem.
Yeah.
And that is the struggle that all coaches and nearly all businesses struggle with, is they're afraid to niche down. But you have to, you just have to, you have to grin and bear it and do it. And then from the business on the back end perspective, yes, that's another interesting part of coaching, is that we all hear, you need multiple streams of income.
Right.
Well, my suggestion, this is not popular, but my suggestion is you don't need multiple streams of income until you've got at least, get one going.
Okay.
Get that one going and then start adding additional ones. And so like I started when I moved to Colorado and launched my business online, I started the mastermind first because it was a low hanging fruit business model for me, because I already had people that were interested in doing business with me at a certain level in their business. So the mastermind made a lot of sense. So I started with that one first. Then I started adding, focusing on speaking gigs and getting paid as a speaker. Then it's a whole different business model.
Right.
Then I started working with one-on-one clients. And then as a coach, then I added outsourced CMO services with my team behind me to do tech support.
Okay.
Those are all, I have multiple streams of revenue, but I didn't try to launch them all at one time.
All at one time. That's
that is the kiss of death.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Yeah. Because we do get pulled as a whole. And I'm speaking for, so many people I hear on various calls who think they have to create multiple streams. They've got the journal going, I'm going to package this up, which is an actual thing that you're going to turn around and sell. And then I'm going to do the coaching, and then I'm going to do this. And even within the coaching, who are you coaching? What I hear you say is, even if you're thinking that you want to become a coach, or you want to advertise your coaching business, so to speak, niche that coaching business. A life coach means nothing.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So like, when I launched as a coach and not as an agency owner, I had the other key to making this all work is having a process that's proprietary to you. Then you and I have been working on this together, but having your proprietary proven process that you follow no matter what you're doing. So if I'm yesterday at my speaking engagement, I taught the core basics of my process that is in my book that's coming out in the summer, which is the same information that I use with my clients. It's the same process.
Okay. It's great.
So for me, it's have your proprietary process first, the way that's your market dominating position, the way that you do things that no one else does. Okay. Then focus on selling it one way that's the most profitable and enjoyable for you. This is not popular, but this is just what I do, and it works great for me, is I tend to try to sell high ticket first. like $1,000 or over first, because you don't need as many customers. You don't need as many clients.
Right.
If you try to launch a $97 course off of your proprietary process, you're going to need way more clients. You're going to need way more people. And that's just the hardest part, is getting the awareness, building your email list, getting as hundreds of people that you need to buy the course. It's easier to get 10 people to give you $1,000 than 1,000 people to give you $10. It just is.
But mentally,
so
it's in our heads, because we have some idea in our heads. If I offer this at $97 versus $1,000, I'll get so many more people. But how many people do I need to even make 1,000? You know, it's
correct. And do
crazy.
you know that many people? Do that many people know you? Right.
Yeah,
So
right.
if your business is brand new and you're just getting off the ground and you're not famous already, then that model doesn't work. Now, on the other hand, I have clients who are already famous. They're, you know, reality TV stars, or they're speakers in a specific niche in their business, and they're just like very well known in their industry. I have clients who are, you know, best-selling book authors and professional keynote speakers traveling the world and working with big, huge Fortune 500 companies, most famous plumber on the internet. You know, like I've got clients that are already famous.
Right.
Now, for them, that might make sense to where they launch a product or they launch a course, because they've got thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people that are already listening to them, already on their email list. Now, a product might make sense, but if you're just a regular person like I am, and you don't have 500,000 people on your email list, then it might make sense to do it the opposite.
Yeah. That's a consistent theme in today's conversation. Do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. You know, people don't usually move from Florida to, you know, Denver, Colorado area, you know, from beach to snow, you know, and we've gone through a number of business discussions. And again, you're doing just the opposite of sometimes what I think is generally considered the way to go, the process to build your business. And I love this because obviously I think if we look at the statistics, there's so many people who cannot grow their businesses and they become frustrated because they have taken that generalized, do it like everyone else advice.
Yeah. The inspiration in really like the bigger inspiration in my professional life is my mentor is Dan Kennedy, who is, if you're in the marketing world, Dan Kennedy is like considered the godfather of direct response marketing. He sold his business to Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. They work really closely with each other still. And Dan Kennedy is attributed by the most popular coaches that everybody knows they attribute him at the root for their success in marketing and in business ownership and entrepreneur and creating a scalable business. And there's a quote that Dan said to me, I will never forget the day. It was April 2016. I was at a conference in Florida, and it was my first Dan Kennedy conference. And at first I didn't really like Dan. I thought he was gruff. I thought he was abrasive, and he was saying things that not everybody else was saying. He was swimming up the pond swimming up the river in a different direction than all the other salmon. And I was like, what is he talking about? I've never heard this before. And he said this, he said, if you don't manage your time, you will never have to worry about managing your money. If you don't manage your time, you will never have to worry about managing your money. And even though I was a marketing expert, you know, worked for NASA, whole thing, that one sentence stuck with me for some reason. And my heart, like the Grinch, my heart started to crack open and my mind started to crack open on, there has to be a better way to be a business owner. There has to be a better way to do marketing to where I can create a dream life that I love without having to be sitting in an office all day, dealing with business partners, managing employees, stuck going to meetings. And Dan really changed my life because he started to get me to reprioritize what was important to me and reprioritize freedom in my life. Right.
That's big.
And so Dan is all about whatever if all the competition is doing the same thing in your business, why would you do that? Most of those people are not successful anyways. It's not personal. It's just numbers. Those people are not successful. So why would you do that? And then the other thing is, I think in entrepreneurship, it's very sexy and alluring, you know, to consider to make entrepreneurship your identity.
Yes.
You know, like, I'm an entrepreneur.
I agree.
Like, it's cool, right?
Yep.
For me, yes, I love being a business owner. I love being an entrepreneur. But what I love more is being a wife. What I love more is working in women's ministry at my church. What I love more is being an artist and dedicating my hobby to learning how to oil paint. What I love more is having time to cook healthy foods, ride my Peloton 4 times or 5 times a week. There are so many other things that life can afford you. And I think it takes courage. And you know this because you're doing the same thing, but it takes courage to go the opposite direction and to live your dream life and go against the flow. No, all of our friends in Florida thought we were crazy when we left, but guess what? We cannot stop them from visiting us all the time. They're here constantly because they love it. You know, it takes courage. It does, but it's worth it when you think smart, think about what you're doing, plan for the end, get coaches, take some advice, be smart about your decisions. And I mean, I'm living proof that anything is possible if you kind of follow that advice, I think.
But that what was it? Say it again. If you manage your time. Okay.
If you can't manage your time, you will never have to worry about managing your money.
Right.
It's not about, it's about thinking through, what do I sell? Do I really want to sell $97 products and try to get 10,000 people to buy it? Or would I rather have a client who pays me $5,000 a month or $3,000 a month for years on end, and I don't have to chase new business all the time? Or do I want to create a business that's run from a laptop that I can work from anywhere?
Right. Yeah.
Or, you know, do I want to, my next book that's coming out in the summertime, it's called Outsource Your Marketing. It's a productivity book. It's not a tactical how to do marketing book, but it's about this. It's about, you need to rethink what success means in marketing in particular, and you need to let things go. You need to be thinking more of how do I create a system out of this? How do I create a team out of this so that I can be free and have the true time and financial freedom that we really want as entrepreneurs? If I didn't want time freedom and money freedom, I would go back and work for Kennedy Space Center again.
Right. Exactly.
8 hours a week, making $26,000 a year. It was terrible. Right. It was a great time. It was fun, but from a life perspective, awful. I don't recommend it at all, you know, to work that hard for so little money. But for me, that's been the kind of like the Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder is Dan Kennedy saying, you know, make your time the number one priority, not the money, and then the money will follow.
And back into make your time your number one priority. You really need to know what your priorities are, what you want in your life, how you want to spend your time. And, you know, we've got Excel docs where we lay out where our money goes. And here we are, it's almost tax season and we're all doing it. And yet, when do we ever say, how am I spending my time? Where is my time going? Because that's an asset that we can't get more of. We can't buy more of it. We just have whatever it is that everyone has, 365 days. Yeah. That's it.
And I think for me, from a practical perspective, if this helps whoever's listening, from a practical perspective, you have to make dates with yourself on your calendar. You have to put the activities that are important to you on your calendar. I don't normally do meetings on Mondays with my clients, and I do not do meetings on Fridays ever. Okay. Never. So that is important. That is precious time for me, Mondays and Fridays. Mondays, because it helps me get the week off to a good start. It helps me look at, you know, my Trello project management system with all my clients and see what's going on and what needs to get done this week. And it just helps me not start off in panic mode as a business owner. And then Fridays are blocked because if I want to go on a hike with my husband or take a long weekend or spend the day painting, that's up to me. That time is precious for me. Or if I've got something that really needs to get done with a client or for a client, then I can knock it out. But that is important priorities for me. And like Thursday nights, I'm on the board for National Speaker Association, as I mentioned, every once a month on Thursday nights before our chapter meeting, we have a dinner with the keynote speaker that's coming in, and it's just for the board members only. And I never go to them because I have commitments at church on Thursday night. I lead a women's Bible study every Thursday night. That's important for me.
Right.
And so there are some things that you have to give up. And everybody knows Jen's not available on Mondays and Fridays and Thursday nights.
Right.
I'm just not.
Yes.
But you can take control of your life. You can take
Exactly.
control of your schedule.
Right.
And the clients will just agree. They will just know that's what it's about.
Right.
That's what Sharri's about. That's what Jen is about. And that's just some of my favorite words are, this is how I work.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is how I work.
This is how I work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also I think what you're also addressing is not only priorities, but also sometimes we can, especially as an entrepreneur, we can waste time. So if I can meet any day of the week and, oh yeah, I'll go to that, I'll say yes to that, I'll do that. And all of a sudden we have all this time spent on things that have accomplished nothing, or, we just, I don't know, spin. If I don't know how else to put it, because that's what it feels like, where if you're working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pedal to the metal, so to speak, it's like, these are my days. I'm doing it. I'm focused. I'm ready to go. It's like a Peloton ride, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
So, but yet it's your business on that screen, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. Yeah, love it. Jen, you have shared so much. Is there anything that you'd love, that I've missed in our conversation, that you'd like anyone to know?
I mean, yeah, I just want to be an encouragement. If you can have your dream life. That's what Sharri, what you do with your mission here is, in particular, help women live their next best chapter. I just turned 50 3 days ago. And so I'm doing that. It's not too late. Your time is now, and you can do it. Just you need to get the right support. You need to be consuming the right information, listening to the right people, and then just making good decisions.
And know yourself. Spend time with yourself. Schedule in the things that are important to you, but also schedule in time just to sit with you, go for a walk, whatever it might be, in order to ground yourself. Love it. Thank you, Jen, so much for all your wisdom and sharing. I know, as you said, you're an introvert. You don't like to share a whole lot of your personal life, and yet you did today, and we are so appreciative. Thank you.